The alien arena was alive with cruel laughter, glowing lights, and the smell of dust and blood. The stone seats were filled with creatures from different worlds, their voices echoing like thunder. They did not come to watch fair games or noble battles. They came to see pain, suffering, and humiliation. In the middle of the arena stood one man, a human. His clothes were torn from the long journey he had been forced into. His hands were tied with rough iron. His face was calm, but his eyes moved carefully, watching every detail. He knew this was not a place of mercy. The aliens wanted him to break. They wanted him to dance like a toy for their cruel fun. Then the moment came. With a heavy sound, a door opened on the other side. The crowd roared with excitement. Chains dragged across the floor, and a figure was pushed into the open space. At first, the man thought it was a child. She was so small, her body trembling. But when the light touched her face, he saw she was no child. She was an alien girl, young but broken. Her arms were thin, her skin covered with marks and bruises. Her large eyes looked hollow, empty, as if life had already left her. The announcer's voice rang through the arena, booming with mockery. "Behold, the broken girl. She cannot fight, she cannot run, but perhaps in the human will find some use for her." The crowd exploded with laughter. Their claws slapped against the stone, tails thumped the ground, and voices shouted insults. The girl fell to her knees. Her chains rattled as she lifted her head slightly. She looked at the man with fear, not hope, as if she expected him to hurt her like all the others had. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. Only a soft sound escaped. Almost like a silent cry, the man's jaw tightened. He understood now. This was not a fight. This was a show. They had given him the girl as a gift, not to help her, but to see how he would use her for entertainment. If he struck her, the crowd would cheer. If he mocked her, they would laugh louder. It was all a game. But the man did not move as they wanted. He stepped closer to her, slowly. His eyes did not hold cruelty, but something the crowd could not understand. Pity. He bent down and touched her shoulder gently. The girl flinched as if his hand was fire. Her breath quickened. She tried to crawl backward, dragging her chains. Her eyes begged silently. "Please, don't." The crowd grew restless. "Hurt her! Break her!" Voices shouted. "Show us human strength." The aliens leaned forward, waiting for blood. Instead, the man spoke. His voice was low, steady, but it carried across the silence that suddenly spread. "I will not harm you," he said, looking into her eyes. "You've suffered enough." The girl blinked, confused. She had never heard such words. Not here, not in this pit of cruelty. Her lips parted, and for a moment she wanted to answer, but her voice failed her. The crowd roared in anger. They did not want kindness. They wanted screams. The announcer shouted again, mocking the man. "What is this? The human dares to disobey the game? Does he think mercy is strength?" Guards stepped forward, holding long spears with glowing tips, ready to strike if the man refused to perform. The girl shook with fear, her body collapsing against him. She expected him to step away, to push her aside to save himself. That was what everyone did, but the man did the unthinkable. He wrapped his arm around her, shielding her tiny frame with his own body. He turned his back to the guards and faced the entire arena. His voice rose, stronger now. "If you want to fight," he shouted, "you'll fight me, not her." The crowd froze in disbelief. No one had ever spoken against the arena's rules. The aliens exchanged confused, angry murmurs. This was not how the show was supposed to go. The girl's eyes widened. For the first time, she saw something in him she had never seen in anyone before. Defiance, not just against the guards, not just against the crowd, but against the cruelty of the world itself. Her small hand, weak and trembling, slowly grabbed his sleeve. She did not know why she did it. She had no strength, no reason to believe. Yet something in his voice, in his touch, made her want to hold on. The guards moved closer, their weapons glowing brighter. The crowd's anger turned into a storm of voices. Some demanded blood, others demanded punishment. The announcer's laughter grew sharp. "Then let the human face death for his foolish heart." The man's heart pounded. He knew what was coming, but he also knew one thing with absolute clarity. He would not let this broken girl suffer anymore. Not here, not tonight. The girl's hollow eyes filled with the smallest spark. It was not yet hope, not yet trust, but it was something, and in the heart of that cruel arena under the roar of thousands, one human and one broken alien girl stood together against everything. The cruel gift had been given, but neither the man nor the girl would play the part the crowd expected. Something had begun, something dangerous, something powerful, and the arena, once filled with laughter, now trembled with suspense. The arena did not forgive silence. The crowd was a sea of claws and voices, demanding the human to act. Guards circled like wolves, their weapons glowing brighter. Yet in the center of it all, the man stood tall, his arm wrapped protectively around the broken alien girl. She was trembling against him, her body cold, her chains heavy. The girl's lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but no sound came. Only her eyes told the story, eyes that begged him not to leave her, not to betray her. They were the eyes of someone who had already seen too much cruelty, someone who expected betrayal at every turn. The announcer's voice rose again, sharp and mocking. What is this? The human thinks he can play the savior? He thinks he can defy our entertainment? Then let him bleed for his pride. The crowd screamed in agreement. Their hunger for suffering filled the air. The guards moved closer, the tips of their spears glowing like fire. One wrong step, and the human would be cut down. The man looked down at the girl. She clutched his sleeve tightly, her small hands shaking. He bent closer and whispered, "I won't hurt you, you're safe with me." Her eyes widened. She wanted to believe him. But belief was dangerous. It had betrayed her before. Yet a part of her heart, fragile and hidden, longed to trust. And in that moment her silent cry became louder than the crowd's roar. The guards charged. The man acted quickly. He pulled the girl behind him and dodged to the side. One spear struck the ground where they had been. The stone cracked, sending sparks into the air. The crowd erupted in cheers, not for him, but for the danger, for the chance to see him fall. The man grabbed the nearest broken chain and yanked hard. The metal snapped from the wall, giving him a crude weapon. The girl gasped. Her eyes followed his every move. She had seen many humans before, captives, slaves, traitors, but none had stood like this. None had chosen to protect instead of harm. The announcer laughed again. Good. Good. Make the fight worth watching. But the man did not fight for their amusement. He fought to survive and to keep her alive. With each strike of his chain, with each move to shield her, he sent a silent message. She is not your toy. She is not your entertainment. The girl's breathing grew faster. Her chest rose and fell in panic. Her voice tried to rise but broke into whispers. Please, don't leave me. He heard her, though the words were weak. His heart tightened. He wanted to promise her the world, but right now he could only promise one thing. He would not let go. The guards pressed harder. Two came from the left. One from behind. The man spun the chain, striking one guard's arm. The alien howled in pain, dropping his weapon. The crowd roared again, their bloodlust growing. The girl covered her ears, but her eyes never left the man. Tears streamed down her face silently, not from pain alone, but from something deeper. For the first time, someone was fighting for her, not against her. Her chains rattled as she tried to crawl closer to him, as if her body moved on its own, drawn by his defiance. Her silent cry was no longer just for safety. It was for connection, for someone to finally see her. The man noticed her struggling forward. He stepped back, his body shielding her once again. He whispered, "Stay close, don't be afraid." But how could she not be afraid? Fear had been her life, her prison. Still, when his hand reached for hers, she let him take it. The touch shocked her. It did not burn. It did not hurt. It was warm, steady, real. For the first time, she felt alive. The crowd grew restless. They had expected quick violence. Instead, They saw something they could not understand. Bond, loyalty, maybe even trust. The announcer growled in frustration. "End this! Kill them both!" The guards moved in again, more ruthless than before. The man's grip on the chain tightened. His other hand held hers firmly. The girl gasped as their eyes met. For the first time, she whispered a word with strength. "Why?" "You?" He gave her a small, fierce smile. "Because someone has to." The word struck her like fire. She had never been worth saving, never been worth fighting for. Yet this human, surrounded by death, chose her. The fight continued. The man swung, blocked, and kicked with desperate force. But the odds were heavy. The girl's tears fell harder. Her silent cry became a storm inside her. She wanted to scream, to shout, to fight beside him. But her body was too weak, her spirit too shattered. Yet deep within her, something stirred. A faint glow in her veins flickered, hidden but alive. She felt it when he touched her, like his will had awakened something inside her. The crowd did not see it yet, but the girl felt it. The broken one was not as broken as they thought. And as the man stood tall, protecting her against the storm, the silent cry inside her began to change. It was no longer just pain. It was the beginning of a voice. The arena shook with rage and confusion. The human had not given them what they wanted, but he had given them something far more dangerous: hope. The arena boiled with fury. The crowd's chants shook the very walls. They had not come to see kindness. They had not come to see mercy. They had come for blood. Yet the human refused to give it. Instead of striking the broken alien girl, he stood as her shield. The announcer's voice cracked through the storm of noise dripping with mockery. The human resists. He thinks himself a hero. But let us see how long his weak body lasts against true warriors. The crowd cheered again, and from the shadows of the arena gate, more guards appeared. These were not common soldiers. They wore black armor and carried heavy weapons glowing. With strange energy, their faces were covered, their movements sharp. They were executioners meant to end disobedience. The girl clutched the man's sleeve tighter. Her body shook violently. Her breath came in short gasps. She whispered, her voice breaking, They will kill you. You cannot win." But the man only looked down at her. His eyes burned with quiet fire. "Then let them try," he said. His voice was steady, and in that steadiness, the girl felt something she had never known. Courage. The executioners circled, their weapons raised. The crowd leaned forward in hunger, waiting for the human to be crushed. The announcer laughed cruelly. "Do you see, alien scum? This is your champion. He cannot save himself, let alone you." The girl lowered her head, her chains rattling as she whispered, "Leave me. If you leave me, they might let you live." Her eyes filled with tears, but the man reached out and lifted her chin gently, forcing her to meet his gaze. "I told you already," he said softly. "I will not leave you. Not now. Not ever." The words struck deep into her broken soul. They were simple, yet they cut through the chains around her heart more than iron ever had. The executioners moved in. One swung a heavy blade at the man's head. He ducked, dragging the girl with him. The blade smashed into stone, sending sparks flying. Another guard thrust forward, but the man twisted, wrapping the chain around the alien's weapon and yanking hard. The weapon clattered to the ground. The crowd roared. Not in admiration, but in bloodlust. They wanted more violence. They wanted the man torn apart. But what they saw instead was something alien to them: defiance. The announcer's voice grew sharp, angry. "This is no entertainment. This is insult. Human, you will suffer for this rebellion." The guards pressed harder. Their weapons clashed against the chain the man wielded. His arms shook with the force of blocking their strikes. His body was covered in sweat, but he refused to fall. Behind him, the girl cried silently, each strike against him striking her heart as well. Then something strange happened. For a brief moment, the man's hand touched hers again, and in that touch, a faint glow flickered through her veins. Her hollow eyes widened. She felt warmth spreading, a strength she had thought forever lost. The man noticed too. His eyes narrowed, realizing she was not as powerless as she believed, but there was no time to ask questions. The guards attacked again, their glowing weapons slashing through the air. One guard lunged straight for the girl. The man saw it, but he was too far to block in time. Fear surged through her. Her body froze, but the glow in her veins burst brighter. For an instant, a wave of energy rippled from her body. The weapon shattered before it could reach her. The crowd gasped in shock. Silence fell for a heartbeat. The girl's eyes widened in horror at herself. She pulled her hands back, trembling. No. I didn't mean to. She looked at the man, terrified he would fear her too, but he only gave her a fierce smile. Good, he said. Don't be afraid of what's inside you. Use it. Stand with me. Her breath caught. His words rang in her chest, louder than the crowd's roar, louder than the announcer's mockery. For the first time, someone did not call her broken. Someone did not call her cursed. He called her strong. The announcer shouted angrily, "Kill them both! Now!" The executioners charged together. Their weapons raised high, the man gripped the chain in one hand, the girl's trembling hand in the other. "Stay with me," he whispered. And then he moved, not just to protect her, but to fight alongside. His strikes were precise, his body a shield, but beside him, the girl's glow began to grow stronger. Each time fear surged, the warmth of his hand calmed it, shaping it into light instead of chaos. The crowd could not understand what they were seeing. A human and a broken alien girl, standing together against impossible odds, refusing to bow, refusing to play their cruel game. The announcer's laughter broke into anger. "This is no entertainment. This is rebellion." But in the center of the arena, the girl's silent cry had become something new. No longer a plea for death, no longer a plea for escape. It was a cry of defiance, a cry that matched the human's courage. Her weak voice finally rose, clear enough for the crowd to hear. "We will not break." The crowd fell into stunned silence. The human stood tall, the girl trembling beside him. But no longer hollow, no longer empty, together, they had crossed the line. They were no longer just prisoner and broken gift. They were something more, something the arena had never seen before. And as the executioners hesitated for the first time, fear flickered in their eyes. The arena burned with chaos. The crowd's roar echoed through stone walls, hungry for punishment. Yet at the center, something had changed. The human and the broken alien girl no longer stood as victims. They stood together, hand in hand, defying everything. The executioners stepped back for the first time, their glowing weapons still raised but their movements unsure. They had not expected resistance, not from a chained man, and certainly not from a girl they had called broken. The announcer's voice cracked with rage. "Do not hesitate, end them now." But hesitation had already taken root. The guards saw what the crowd saw. A faint light flickering in the girl's veins, energy that had shattered a weapon moments ago. Her body still trembled, but her eyes no longer looked hollow. A spark had awakened. The man leaned close to her ear, whispering quickly, "This is our chance. We can't fight forever. We have to get out." Her breath caught. "Escape? No one escapes this place." Her voice was filled with fear, but his grip on her hand tightened, steady, unshaken. "There's always a way," he said firmly. His eyes scanned the arena, searching for weakness, for a hidden door, for shadows that could hide them. The crowd was distracted, screaming with anger and confusion. The announcer was shouting for blood. The guards were tense and scattered. The man saw it. A narrow passage in the far corner of the arena, a gate used by handlers to bring creatures in and out. It was half hidden by shadows and broken stone, guarded only by a single soldier. Distracted by the chaos, he leaned close again, his voice low and urgent. "We run for that gate. Stay behind me. Don't let go of my hand." The girl's chest rose and fell rapidly. Fear wrapped around her heart. Her legs felt weak, chains heavy on her wrists. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something she had never seen before. Belief, not in himself alone, but in her. She nodded faintly. "Oh, okay." The announcer's laughter filled the air again. "Do you think you can resist forever, human? The arena will crush you." But the man ignored him. He moved suddenly, dragging the girl with him. They sprinted. Toward the shadowed gate, the crowd erupted with shouts and curses. Guards turned, their weapons flashing. "Stop them!" the announcer screamed. The girl stumbled at first, her chains clattering loudly, but the man caught her, lifting her small frame for a moment as they ran. She gasped, clinging to him. Her heart pounded louder than the crowd's screams. Arrows of light shot past them, burning into the stone. One struck so close that the heat seared the girl's arm. She cried out, but he pulled her tighter against him. "Hold on. We're almost there." The lone guard at the gate finally noticed them. He raised his weapon, aiming straight for the girl. Her eyes widened in terror. Her voice broke into a desperate whisper. "No." And then it happened again. Her veins glowed brighter. Energy burst outward, the weapon cracked in the guard's hands, exploding into sparks. The alien screamed, dropping to the ground in shock. The man did not waste the chance. He struck the guard with his broken chain, knocking him out cold. Then he shoved the gate open with his shoulder, pulling the girl inside. The passage was dark, narrow, and smelled of damp stone. The shouts of the crowd echoed behind them. The announcer's voice was furious. "Find them! Hunt them down! Do not let them leave alive!" The girl clung to the man's arm as they stumbled through the passage. Her body shook with exhaustion, but her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "They'll catch us," she whispered. "They always catch escapees." "Not this time," the man said. His voice was rough, but his steps were steady. "This time we keep moving." The corridor twisted, opening into tunnels beneath the arena. They could hear footsteps chasing, weapons clashing against stone. The aliens were closing in. The girl's breath grew ragged, her knees buckled. The man stopped only long enough to lift her into his arms, carrying her like she weighed nothing. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Don't give up now." Her hands clutched his shirt weakly, her voice cracked. Why do you do this? I'm broken. I am nothing." He looked down at her, his eyes fierce even in the dark. "You're not nothing, you're alive, that's enough, and as long as you're alive, I won't let them break you again." Her throat tightened, tears spilled down her cheeks silently. For the first time in years, someone had said she was worth saving. The tunnel ahead split into two paths. The man hesitated, footsteps thundering behind them. He chose the left, hoping it would lead out. His heart pounded, but he kept moving. The girl whispered weakly, "They will kill you for me." He shook his head, determination etched into every line of his face. "Then I'll make sure they fail." Suddenly a bright light flared ahead. Guards blocked the exit, weapons ready. The girl gasped, clutching his arm tighter. Her veins glowed faintly again, energy trembling inside her. The man set her down gently, standing in front of her once more. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice carried no fear, only defiance. The guard shouted, moving to attack. The man tightened his grip on the chain, his other hand reaching back to hold hers again. The faint glow in her veins pulsed brighter at his touch. The escape attempt was not over. It had only just begun. And as the guards closed in, the girl realized something. She was no longer afraid of running, no longer afraid of fighting. As long as his hand held hers, she could believe in escape. The arena above still screamed for blood. The announcer demanded their death. The guards moved to crush them. But together, human and broken alien girl stepped into the fire, defiant, unbroken, and ready to risk everything for freedom. The tunnels shook with the thunder of pursuit. Voices echoed behind them, armored feet slamming against stone. The human ran forward, with the girl close against him, his arms steady around her small frame. Every step was a race against death, every breath filled with dust and fear. Finally, the passage opened into a forgotten chamber. The air here was damp and cold, water dripping from cracks above. It smelled of rust and old blood. The man set the girl down gently, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. "Rest," he whispered, crouching beside her. His eyes scanned the shadows, listening for the sound of approaching guards. The girl's body trembled as she leaned against the wall. Her chains rattled softly. Her face was pale, her breaths uneven, For a moment she tried to speak, but her voice cracked into silence. Only her eyes told the truth. They were filled with pain. The man's gaze sharpened. He saw something he had missed before. Her wrists were not only bruised from chains, but faint lines of glowing veins ran up her arms, thin cracks of light spreading like fire beneath the skin. They pulsed weakly, unstable. He reached out, carefully brushing her sleeve back. She tried to pull away, whispering, "No, don't, please." But he held her gently, his touch soft. "I need to see," he said. His voice was calm, reassuring, her eyes filled with tears. But she let him look. What he saw chilled him. Her entire side was scarred with strange marks, as though burned by energy over and over. The glow beneath her skin pulsed like a wound that refused to heal. Sometimes it dimmed, sometimes it sparked dangerously. She whispered, "This is why they call me broken." Her voice was low, almost ashamed. They tried to change me. Experiments, machines, drugs. They wanted power, but they made a mistake. I can't control it. It eats me from inside. The man's jaw clenched. His hand hovered just above her glowing skin, not touching, but close enough to feel the faint heat. He understood now. She wasn't just beaten. She was poisoned with something unnatural. "That's why they use me for entertainment," she continued, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I am no warrior, no slave worth owning, only a joke. A broken thing that burns. Anyone who gets too close," her voice cracked. "Even if I survive, this power will kill me." Silence filled the chamber, only broken by the distant echoes of hunters searching the tunnels. The man leaned closer. His voice was firm, steady, like a wall against her despair. "You are not broken. You are alive. And as long as you're alive, there is hope." Her eyes widened, shimmering in the dim light. "Hope?" she whispered, as if the word itself was foreign. He nodded. "Yes, hope. You've carried this pain alone, but you don't have to anymore. Let me carry it with you." She shook her head quickly, fear in her voice. "No. If you stay close, it will burn you too. It destroys everything near me, don't you see? You should run while you still can." But he caught her trembling hand and held it tightly. The glow beneath her skin flickered wildly at his touch, as if testing him. Yet he did not let go, his eyes locked with hers. "If it burns me, then let it, but I will not leave you." Her breath caught in her throat. The glow in her veins sparked, but instead of burning him, it calmed. The wild light softened, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. She gasped, staring at her own skin. Why isn't it hurting you?" The man gave a faint, determined smile. "Maybe because I don't see you as broken. Maybe because what you carry doesn't scare me." Her tears flowed faster, but now they carried more than pain. They carried confusion, shock, even the faintest spark of something she had lost long ago. Trust. The sound of footsteps grew louder. The pursuers were close again, but in that hidden chamber, something had already shifted. The girl wiped her eyes weakly, whispering, "I don't understand. Why would you risk your life for me?" His reply was simple but heavy with truth. "Because you deserve to live." She trembled, her heart pounding with a strange warmth. His words tore through the chains inside her far more than the iron around her wrists. The glow in her body pulsed one last time, then steadied. It was still dangerous, still unstable, but for the first time it seemed controlled. Not by machines, not by drugs, but by his presence. The man stood, pulling her gently to her feet. "Come on, we can't stay here, they'll find us." She leaned against him, her body weak but her spirit burning in a way she had never known. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "Alive. I am still alive." He nodded firmly, holding her steady. "And I'll make sure you stay that way." The chamber echoed again with shouts. Guards were near. The man tightened his grip on her hand and led her deeper into the tunnels. Their shadows stretched across, the walls no longer looking like prisoner and broken gift, but like two souls bound by something stronger than chains. Behind them, the hunters closed in. Ahead of them, Danger waited. But between them, something new was born, a bond forged in pain, defiance, and the promise of survival. The hidden wound was no longer just hers to bear, it was theirs, and for the first time in her life, the girl allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was not broken after all. The tunnels shook with the sound of pursuit. Shouts echoed like thunder. Weapons clashed against stone. The human led the girl deeper into the dark passage, his hand locked firmly around hers. She stumbled at times, but he never let her fall. The glow in her veins flickered faintly. She was weak, but not empty anymore. Every step reminded her that she was still alive. Every heartbeat reminded her that she was no longer alone. But escape was not so simple. Ahead, the tunnel widened into a broken courtyard, open to the night sky. The walls were crumbling, the air sharp with cold. Moonlight spilled down, revealing the ruins of an old fortress. For a moment, the girl thought they had reached freedom. Then shadows moved. Dozens of armored guards stepped from the ruins, their weapons glowing, their eyes burned with cruelty. Behind them stood the announcer himself, his long cloak dragging across the stone. His laughter filled the air like poison. "You thought you could run," he sneered. "No one escapes the arena, human. You will die here, and the broken girl will be dragged back to where she belongs, to chains, to pain, to nothingness." The girl shivered. Her chains rattled as she clung to the man's arm. Her whisper barely rose. We can't fight them all." The man looked at her. His eyes were steady, unshaken, his voice calm but filled with iron. "We don't need to fight them all. We just need to stand." Her breath caught. The words struck something deep inside. "Her?" The announcer raised his hand. Guards moved forward like a wall of blades. The man stepped in front of the girl, his broken chain gripped tightly in one hand, his other hand reaching back to hold hers. Her glow pulsed faintly at his touch. The first guard lunged, a spear slashed through the air. The man twisted, blocking with the chain. Sparks flew as metal clashed against energy. He struck back, fierce and fast, knocking the guard down. Another came from the side. The man barely dodged. The weapon scraped across his arm. Blood running. "Down!" The girl gasped, panic rising in her chest. She tried to move forward, but her body froze. "Stay behind me," he shouted, his voice cutting through her fear. Tears filled her eyes. Her power stirred inside, wild and unstable. She felt it burning, begging to burst free, but she was terrified. Terrified it would destroy him too. 3 more guards attacked. The man fought with everything he had. His body moved like fire, desperate but strong. Each strike, each dodge, each breath was for her, not for himself. The announcer laughed from the shadows. "Look at him. He bleeds for nothing. He wastes his life for a broken toy." The girl's chest tightened. Her heart screamed at the words. She had heard them all her life. Broken, useless, worthless. But when she looked at the man, bleeding and unyielding, she realized something. The announcer was wrong. She was not nothing, not anymore. The guards pressed closer. The man was slowing. His wounds burned, his breath heavy, yet he refused to fall. He raised his voice, fierce and unbroken. "You will not take her." The girl's tears turned into fire. Her glow erupted. Her veins shone brighter, flooding the courtyard with strange light. The guards stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Her voice rose, trembling but strong. "Stop calling me broken." The light surged outward. The ground cracked beneath her. Energy poured from her body like a storm. But unlike before, it was not wild, not destructive. His hand still held hers, guiding, calming, shaping. Together, their bond controlled the storm. The power spread in waves, knocking guards off their feet, weapons shattering, walls trembling. The announcer's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible!" he shouted. "She cannot control it." But she could, because he believed she could. The man squeezed her hand tighter, his voice steady even in chaos. "You're stronger than you know. Don't fear it. Use it." Her glow blazed brighter. Her body still weak, but her spirit unstoppable. For the first time, she was not a victim, not entertainment. She was a fighter. The guards fell back, stunned and afraid. The announcer snarled, his laughter gone. His voice cracked with fury. Kill them. Kill them now. But none of the guards moved forward. Fear flickered in their eyes. Not fear of the man, but fear of the girl they had once called broken. The courtyard echoed with silence, broken only by the sound of her glowing veins and the man's heavy breathing. The announcer stepped back, realizing the truth. The spectacle he had planned had turned against him. The crowd that once cheered cruelty now whispered in disbelief. The girl's chest rose and fell quickly. She turned. To the man, tears glistening on her cheeks. You gave me strength, she whispered. He shook his head gently. No, you always had it. I just reminded you. Her lips trembled, a small smile breaking through the fear. For the first time, she believed him. But the danger was not over. The announcer raised his weapon, his voice filled with rage. If no one else will end this, then I will. The man stepped forward, chain ready, his voice fierce. Then come and try. The girl's glow pulsed brighter, standing beside him, not behind him. Her power and his defiance merged like fire and steel. The last stand had begun. Not against the guards, not against the announcer alone, but against everything that had ever tried to break them. And for the first time, the girl was not afraid of standing in the fire. The ruined courtyard glowed with light. The girl stood beside the human, her veins shining like fire. Her once hollow eyes now burned with strength. The announcer sneered from across the broken stones, his voice rising with fury. You are nothing but slaves of fate. You dare to stand against the arena, against me, then burn with it. He raised his weapon, a staff of black metal crackling with energy. Sparks shot into the air. The guards who had once rushed forward now cowered back, afraid of both the man and the girl. The human stepped in front, his chain wrapped tightly around his arm. His body was bloodied, his breath heavy. But his eyes were unbroken, his voice rang strong. If you want her, you'll have to kill me first. The announcer laughed, sharp and cruel. Gladly. He hurled a blast of energy across the courtyard. The human pulled the girl close, the shockwave ripping stone apart behind them. Dust and fire filled the night. The girl coughed, her small body shaking. But when she looked at the man, she saw him still standing, refusing to fall. Her tears glistened, not from weakness now, but from the fire burning in her chest. Her voice trembled, but it carried through the smoke. I don't want to hide anymore. The human looked at her, his expression fierce yet soft. Then don't, you're stronger than he will ever be. Her veins blazed brighter. The energy inside her surged. The announcer narrowed his eyes. No, you cannot control it, you are broken. But she screamed back, her voice breaking through the night. I am not broken. Her power exploded outward. Waves of light tore through the courtyard. The announcer's weapon cracked under the force. He staggered back, his laughter finally silenced. The man held her hand through it all, guiding her storm, his voice calm, even in chaos. Breathe, focus, don't let it burn you, shape it. She gasped, the glow swirling wildly, but with his hand steady on hers, the energy bent, not as destruction, but as light. It poured around them like fire made gentle, a shield instead of a curse. The announcer screamed in rage, striking again. His staff burst with sparks, but the girl lifted her hand. The wave of fire turned into a wall of light, the blast dissolving before it touched them. The crowd above, silent until now, gasped in awe. For the first time, they did not cheer cruelty. They stared at wonder, the announcer's face twisted, veins bulging with hate. You think this will save you? The arena devours all. The human stepped forward, chain swinging. His voice cut through the night. Not tonight. He struck, his chain wrapping around the announcer's staff, pulling it from his grip. The staff clattered to the ground. Sparks dying. The girl's power flared again, but now it was steady. Her voice rose, clear and strong. You called me broken, but he called me alive, and now I believe him. Light poured from her body, not wild, not dangerous, but pure. The announcer screamed as the force struck him, knocking him back against the ruined wall. His cloak tore, his weapon shattered, his power meant nothing before hers. The courtyard fell silent. The guards lowered their weapons, their eyes wide with fear and awe. The crowd above whispered, their voices unsure. The spectacle they had demanded had turned into something else entirely. The man stood, chest heaving, his arm around the girl's shoulders, her glow softened, fading slowly as she leaned against him, exhausted, but alive. She whispered softly, "I thought I was cursed, but with you I feel whole." He smiled faintly, his voice rough but steady. "Because you were never broken, you just needed someone to see you." Her tears fell, but this time they were tears of release, of freedom, of belonging. She buried her face against his chest, whispering, "You saved me." He shook his head gently. "No, you saved yourself. I only stood with you." The crowd, once bloodthirsty, now stared in silence. Some even bowed their heads, confused by the fire they had witnessed. The announcer lay defeated, his voice silenced. The girl lifted her face, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her voice carried through the ruins, trembling but proud. "We will not be your slaves. We will not be your toys. We are free." The words spread like fire through the air. The crowd shifted uneasily, some murmuring. In agreement, the guards no longer moved to attack. Fear of rebellion had entered their hearts. The human looked at her, his eyes full of pride. She was no longer the fragile gift thrown at his feet. She was his equal, his bond, his fire. Together, they turned toward the broken archway beyond the courtyard, their path still dangerous, their freedom not yet certain. But their bond was stronger than chains, stronger than cruelty, stronger than fear. As they walked into the night, her hand still in his, she whispered one last time, "You risked your life for me, and now I will risk mine for you." The human smiled faintly. "Then we'll survive together." Behind them, the arena of cruelty burned with silence. No one laughed anymore. No one cheered. They had seen something they could not erase. A human who risked his life for a broken alien girl, and a girl who rose from ashes to become fire. Their bond had changed everything, and it would burn brighter than the cruelty of any arena. Forever.